Chapter 383, Anadi Avidya, is not the first time that the concept of Avidya has been directly and indirectly mentioned in Berserk. It has, in fact, a long history in the series that goes back to the year 2009 and maybe as far back as 1994. You heard that right. Now, there seem to be at least 7 characters in the series who have encountered Avidya, and some of them have even transcended it. In part 1 of this 4-part series on Avidya, we'll come to see some of these 7 who have been confronted by Avidya. In the second part, we'll see what this Avidya is, how it may be transcended. In the third part, we'll explore Guts, his Avidya, how others have transcended it, and how he may transcend it. Then in the fourth part, we'll discuss how his transcending Avidya might change his status in the series. So, put your glasses on, grab your Dragon Slayer, and let's dive into the abyss and figure out the long, deep, and hidden mystery of Avidya in Berserk and all who have confronted it. Before you are told what Avidya is, and if that idea even belongs to Berserk, you first need to see hard evidence that it has been part of the series all along. So entertain me for a bit, even when you can't tell instantly if what I'm citing is Avidya or not. All will be explained in good time. For now, just keep in mind that Avidya is a continuous state of unawareness about who you are. It is a state where you can't see yourself clearly and fully, and so you are trapped in taking illusions about yourself and the world as true. With that said, here's Avidya example 1. Ganishka. In chapter 292, Ganishka undergoes a second reincarnation via the man-made Bahilith and absorbs all the evil in the abyss. The abyss, depending on who you ask, is an endless swirl of consciousness, endless and evil, as if all the evil in the world were gathered there, according to Puck, or hell according to Daiba and the idea of evil, or the dark side of humanity, that is this swelling ocean of the collective consciousness as a species according to the idea of evil. We can at least get from this that Ganishka absorbed into him evil selves that are not a part of him, an abyss full of them, and his ego can't handle it, and soon among this abyss of evil selves that he absorbed, his own self becomes overwhelmed. He can't recognize his soldiers or see them as human and stomps on them thinking they are insects. He can't recognize his right-hand man Daiba and tries to kill him with fire thinking he's a noisy bug. Then he sees a boundless world of darkness where only bugs are creeping about. That is, he can no longer distinguish what is what and has fallen into delusion and spiritual darkness. He calls out to his soldiers, to Daiba. Even when he can see them, he can't recognize them. Then he starts to forget what the concept of soldiers is, what Daiba is. Then he can't even recognize what he is seeing in front of him. Then he can't recognize who he is and cries out for someone to be there in this world of darkness. He is in complete spiritual darkness, unable to see who he is, where the boundaries of his own self are, can't see anyone else, and can't make sense of anything. This is Avidya, if not the deepest depths of it. And if that seems like an asshole, it actually is explicitly stated in the manga. Wait, not in the English translation, but the Japanese one. Here's what I mean. When Griffith hitches a ride on Zord and flies up to find the core of Ganishka's self in his reincarnated form, we get a page of Ganishka's core drowned in what is literal and spiritual darkness. The darkness is real only for him, because he can't make sense of anything any concept or thing he sees or conceives in his mind. This is not an objective state of mind, but his subjective state. We can gather that from when Griffith and Zod arrive at that core, that place is not drowned in literal darkness. In this spiritual darkness, Kanishka says the following dialogue. Life, the world, it's all darkness. In the all-engulfing darkness, you fear, you instill fear, you writhe and creep. Lightlessness, that is life. The word lightlessness may visually do justice here, but in terms of communicating the spiritual death, it falls flat. In the Japanese version, the word ignorance is used instead of lightlessness in that thought bubble. If you dismantle this Japanese word into its components on their own, they mean nothingness and bright or light. So you can see why the English version says lightlessness now. Now, some of you may rightfully say that there are many words for ignorance in the Japanese language. And so we don't know if the ignorance used here is the same as the ignorance of Avidya. There indeed are many words for ignorance in Japanese, and I tried to find as many as I could, and some are listed below. They are
無知、不知、不問、盲昧、盲、面昧、面昧。
But that specific Japanese word that we see in the Ganishka chapter is not there. Now, if we search for that specific Japanese word, it is pronounced as
無明、
This specific word, that is mumyo, is part of the name of the chapter 383, Mumyo Mu Hajime. Below is a close-up of the Japanese cover of chapter 383 where the chapter name is given. It is slightly blurry, but the Japanese words used there are the following. The first two alphabets mean mumyo, and if you compare it with the word that appears during Ganishka's lightlessness page, it is the same word. So Kojimori is indeed pointing to Avidya in the religious sense, and it has explicitly stated by Miura himself way back during the Millennium Falcon arc in 2009. I'll let it stay on the screen for a while so that you can see the words do indeed match. Now, we don't even need to bend over backwards to recognize that this word indeed is Avidya. Even if it was ignorance stated with the normal Japanese words, the context in which they are spoken inevitably make it mean the same. Kanishka is not talking about his everyday ignorance here, but his assessment of life itself. That gives the word a philosophical and spiritual bent, and inevitably leads it to the concept of Avidya. Send this video to every hater who has been shitting on the Berserk continuation and accusing them of just making things up. So, Kanishka's dialogue, if we just go by the Japanese version, reads the following way. Life is, the world is, darkness. In the darkness where nothing can be seen, thoughts become mistaken, people go astray. Ignorance, that is life. Kanishka's search for light after he transforms is his search for the end of his fall into this spiritual darkness of Avidya. This naturally brings us to the second example of encountering Avidya, Griffith. Just as Guts is confined in the darkness of the stupa, a place that is a map for spiritual rebirth, way back in 1994, Griffith was confined in that bottom cell at the Tower of Rebirth, which too has a similar function. It says so in the name after all. Now, if you compare the Tower of Rebirth to its real-life counterpart, that is the Quinta da Regaleira initiation well in Portugal, the following gets said about it. The place is full of historic themed symbols and everything is related to alchemy, occult sciences, astrology, esotericism, Freemasonry, the Templars, and Rosicrucian. The well was a site for initiation for Templar Knights and/or Masonic initiation ceremonies. The inverted well has 4 tunnels at the bottom of it that go out to the grottos of a second well. These tunnels represent the transition from death to resurrection and the road from darkness or ignorance to light or enlightenment, clearly showing that the word ignorance is used in a spiritual context and paired directly with darkness. So the place that Griffith is imprisoned in has a real world history in transcending spiritual ignorance, that is Avidya. Now, just like I did with Ganishka's page in the backlighting chapter, I looked at the Japanese translation for the part where Griffith is confined in the Tower of Rebirth, but found no mention of Avidya, even though he is in a similar state as Ganishka and Guts. I think it may be for the following reason. It makes sense for Ganishka, who, like his real life counterpart Kanishka the Great, came from a Hindu-Buddhist background, to explicitly say the word Avidya, because both the Hindu, Buddhist traditions and the Japanese language itself have a word for it. Griffith would not say Avidya because that term is not Western, so it would not show in his language directly. Consider this for example. Hindus call God Bhagwan or Brahman or Shiva or Vishnu, etc. Muslims call God Allah. Christians call God or Jesus, etc. A person from one region and religion does not call the same idea by a name from another region or religion, do they? So I venture this explanation and let me know if you think I am right or not. That it does show indirectly as Griffith speaks of in terms of darkness and light here, not just the literal darkness of his cellar, but of his own spiritual darkness. Kanishka, in his spiritual darkness too, is speaking of lightlessness, which directly links to the word Avidya. We also know that the Japanese word for Avidya, that is mumyo, is made of components that suggest the meaning no light. And on top of that, we just saw how the real life Tower of Rebirth equates darkness with ignorance. So the state Griffith is in is looking more and more like Avidya. So this Avidya of Griffith, in his own words, is an infinite number of feelings surging upon him. Malice, friendship, jealousy, futility, regret, tenderness, sorrow, pain, hunger, a giant swirl of violent emotions in which none are definite but all are implied. And if you pay close attention to Griffith's expressions during the rescue part, you may get to see what he means by none of these feelings are definite but all are implied. Here's what I mean. You can see Griffith swing from wanting to kill Guts at one moment as his hands touch Guts' neck. Then as Guts hugs him, his emotions and perception swings. The look in his eyes change. His hands fall to the side and he becomes accepting of his friend's embrace. Then later, he sees Saska wipe the blood off Guts' face, and because he is very smart, he realizes from just that the previously antagonistic relationship between Saska and Guts has changed and turned into something romantic. And then he is immediately bitter about it. Then, when they are escaping through the underground tunnels, Griffith swings again, this time to a happy state of mind and smiles. It is hard to see, but you can see his eyes closed and the hint of a smile on his mouth. Then he behaves like the old high IQ Griffith and their friend as he helps out with the rescue as the fire attack carried out by the Bakiraka woman is about to take them down. You can see in the panel below how the same Griffith who had a moment ago been trying to strangle Guts is now smiling at him genuinely like the old Griffith. After the fight with Wildeyed, Griffith and Guts sit and recall the time when they were both busted up like this when they fought Zod. And again, you can see Griffith with a genuine open smile on his face with no hint of manipulation behind it. Then, when Twilight returns, he shatters the illusion that Griffith can ever chase his dream again. Later, as he is lying in the carriage, he sees Guts comfort Sasuke, the same Sasuke whose heart once belonged to him. Guts now is at the peak of both his physical skills and now he has Sasuke too, while his own dream is dead. So, as Sasuke comes to redo his bandages, his feelings and therefore his perception swings again and he kicks the water container aside. This distracts Sasuke and the crippled Griffith tries to grape her. To gain control? To destroy what Guts has? We don't know. Then, when he overhears Sasuke and Guts' conversation, it causes him to despair and he sees a vision of himself egging him to chase the dream once more. Then, Griffith rides off and later falls out of the carriage. For a brief moment, he has a vision where he has made peace with his life as a cripple. And this is important. He believes this vision that he is having to be the truth and him riding off in the carriage as the past or as a daydream he was having. Then the vision is broken as the Behelit shows up and Griffith sees that he is still there in the terrible present and now even his arm is broken. So he laughs, a bitter laugh that is only found at the bottom of despair. The laughter of a man who can't accept what is real, what is false, and who can't accept the terrible reality of his present situation. The point of telling you all of this is to show that Griffith here has lost the ability to tell who he is and is caught between all these feelings, good and bad, all of which appear or imply themselves to be true and take possession of him. One moment he wants to kill Guts, the next he accepts his embrace, then the next moment he is resentful of his relationship with Sasuke, then next he is like the old Griffith, then next he tries to grape Sasuke. Who is he? Is he in the present? Is he in the past? What is real? What is fake? It all is in the air in a state of spiritual and psychological confusion as every violent and tender feeling just grabs a hold of him, and as it grabs a hold of him, it seems to him to be true. All of them do. That's how all these feelings, as they contradict each other, imply themselves as true in spite of that. Griffith has lost his usual ability to be calm, cool and collected and is possessed by a myriad of feelings swinging wildly and can't tell the truth of who he is. Much like the double reincarnated Ganishka lost the ability to tell what was what. This is the confusion of Avidya. This is not as clear-cut a case as Ganishka's, at least so far. So for Griffith's and the remaining individuals' cases to make more sense in terms of Avidya, we need to first understand, at least intellectually, what Avidya is and how it is transcended. So now that we have definitely proven that Avidya is indeed a part of Berserk, we will, in part 2 of this series on Avidya, look into the theory of Avidya and its transcendence. Part 2 will be out soon. Till next time, fellow strugglers.